The question I wanted to ask you is how, I actually don't know this, how did you actually get involved with Zip, which is, if you don't know, is one of the hottest startups in the country right now? John, actually, first explain what Zip is.
Yeah. So Zip is a scooter sharing provider, micromobility provider. We operate share these scooter service in a number of cities across the UK at the moment and Ireland, and we're currently expanding into Portugal, Poland, and Spain. Um, what we operate are like these really sustainable, really community centric share these scooter schemes that avoid a lot of the industry problems around parking, community acceptance, sustainability, through a really, really kind of value oriented operating model. So, founded about 2 years ago now, raised about just closed around of the small bridge round of about 1 million. So, kind of have about 2 million funded to date, and currently using that to expand into the European market. And
So it's those electric scooters that you rent for like €1.
yeah, like we buy the scooters. We have an app that syncs up with it. We set up a local operations team to run the service. We deal with local government. We deal with local residents. We deal with like the local politicians in the area, to kind of shape the scheme for that specific local area. A lot of moving parts, but we're the operator.
And how do you get in there?
So,
and what I read is that you're the number 2 in there.
Listen, it's hard to say. Like, it's a big team, and I don't think it's very hierarchical. So it's not like you're number 2. Like, we have a bit of a joke in work whether I was the first full-time employee or another lad, Ben. That's another story. But according to me, I'm the first employee. Ben will make an argument that he was the first employee. And then also our cousin Cormac was technically an employee as well, previous to us. Cormac Culnan, he worked for Charlie for a bit while. So for context, Charlie was working on it by himself for a good while. Had a few people kind of come in and out of the scene, but he was kind of pushing it along for a year without any funding. And then there was a change in legislation in the UK, and for context, the start of my final year in college, myself and a friend, my friend Liam Hanley, heard of like the scooter thing when we were in Asia. We were like, that is class. Like, both of us were like, this is such a good idea. It needs to come to Ireland, blah, blah, blah. Saw it ever online that these guys were doing it in UCD. Got on to Charlie first week or second week back in college, was like, let's get a coffee. Met him for a coffee. And actually just like at the coffee, like I just offered to set up a meeting for him on behalf, he had a service that he wanted to bring to Dublin. I knew like a politician in Dublin that I think it would have been good for him to have a conversation with to get a feel for how Charlie could. No, not Albert. So I set up that conversation, and just wanted to help this guy out. I thought he was like doing something really cool, brave as well, going out by himself doing this. He's also I'm also very good friends with his younger sister, so she's hilarious, Steph, and that's how it started. And then just kind of stayed in touch. Like, he was based on the UCD campus, so was seeing him a lot, meeting up with him occasionally, and that sort of thing. Then he was kind of coming to like exams or whatever, and I'd been in touch with him about competition and stuff like that, and he knew that's kind of where my interests lie. Interested in like public sector type oriented work, and then just before around kind of like I was finishing my exams in my last year of college, plan originally was I had 2 offers for masters in the UK to do data science. So I had applied social data science in LSE, offer there, and business analytics and Imperial. So the plan was to, and there was a few other applications out that I was waiting to hear back from. So the plan was to do one of them after final year and go that way, kind of social data science way, and step into that world. But then Charlie was like, "Oh, look, will you come on board? We're doing this scooter thing. The UK just kind of out of nowhere. The UK legislated for these e-scooter trials, so any local authority in the UK could run an e-scooter trial. Initially these 1 year projects where operators would be invited in, set up an operation, all the data would go to the UK government, and then they'd formulate some permanent policy on it. Part of it was part of their green restart, so to restart the economy, get it back going again, but in an eco-friendly way, kind of like as well, like with transport during COVID. Oh yeah, for context, this is all during COVID. This was May 2019. Public transport.
May 2020.
2020, yeah, Jesus. And the public transport was like reduced capacity like 20-50%. So they needed to diversify. Like there's still public like servants like doctors and stuff like that need to get to work. So that was, they brought it in kind of out of nowhere. So then I previously worked in KPMG. I had a lot of experience there in public sector transport. That lined up nicely. I worked on the public sector team in strategy consulting, and I'd also done a lot of tenders there. I was like kind of pretty much an assistant to the head. He was a director at the time. He's now a partner of public sector, and I was helping him with all the tenders. Like every time a new one would come in, I'd get pulled off what I was doing and be put on the tender team. I loved it. Like for people who don't know, a tender is like a method the public sector use for issuing contracts. So they'll pretty much issue like nearly an exam, a load of questions, and ask you to answer them. And it's like marked literally like an exam. You know, there's a scorecard and that sort of thing. So Charlie kind of knew all this, so joined the team then to lead up our tenders and stuff like that for the summer. So did that, joined Charlie.
You joined him full time?
Yeah, joined full time.
The long haul.
Initially it was just like to try it out and just get working. Like there's nothing happening that summer anyway. But like after a week I knew like, God, I'm in for this. And I said it to Charlie after about a week or two, I was like, I love it. Like, so very quickly, before we'd any, success in winning any of these contracts, I was like, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy writing tenders. I really enjoy potentially providing a public service to people, transport. And Charlie's a legend as well. The team, Ben, he's an absolute legend. And then the team kind of grew a little bit more. We had other people come in, Shifra, Lorcan, Rob, all like great people, and was just like having such a laugh and was like loving the work as well. I was like, I would be mad not to stay here with this, regardless of these nice offers I have for doing masters. Like it was a really interesting summer. We were just like bloody working like dogs all summer. The DFT, Department for Transport, literally were like 2 months there now for local authorities to pick operators. So they'll always pass to the start of July. We've been in so that gave us all the kind of June to get ready, and like the end of May. We were just in the process when I joined in May of closing a funding round of 300,000 to like give us enough to pay like basic salaries, hire a consultant or two for like the odd things, a good accountant, a good lawyer, and just go at the UK market. So that's what we did. Like, and yeah, it was a mental like few months. Just like tenders were just coming out and out and out. Like I think over the summer maybe there was 25 or 20 local authorities that looked for operators, and that was over like a 2-3 month period. So it was pretty intense, but it was like the team we assembled was perfect in the end. Like we had college students or people just out of college, like literally responding to exams. You know what I mean? Like, and under the guidance of someone who kind of had a bit of experience with doing, but like. Oh, we knew more than we thought, and I think you learn that in hindsight.
To listen to the full podcast episode or to check out my main channel, click the link in the description.